All right, guys. You see what I see. All right, let's get a closer look. We're going to look at another Legendary Drops video. Apparently, Steam is getting sued, and his header is we're paying for it. My wife watched this and said it's something I need to watch, so we're going to give it a go. All right.
The ones that are paying for it. Doesn't that just sound fantastic? Don't you just love the direct? Steve is getting sued and we're the ones that are paying for it. Doesn't that just sound fantastic? Don't you just love the direction that things are going in right now? Video games are being invaded by a bunch of people that don't care about games, don't know anything about them, but will do everything they can to pretend like they represent you just to be able to gain leverage and control over your hobby and ultimately you. Right?
Sorry, excuse me. I thought Steam was the good guys. What did they do?
Right now, Steam is under fire for, get this, ripping off their customers by overcharging for games. I learned something new every single day.
I don't know, man. I've got 133, 12, 143, 145 games. But 140 of them I've never paid full price. Like, I didn't know I was getting ripped off.
They're apparently representing 14 million UK gamers, which I would love to meet some of these people because
all in the UK. Is that suspicious or?
I'm having a very hard time believing
door.
that any of them exist. And they're suing Steam to the tune of over $900 million, which is just the initial payout.
Good
because
Lord.
The financial repercussions of this are going to shake the company down to its core. All the changes that they're going to need to make. And of course, all of this is being supported by everybody's favorite guy in gaming, Tim Sweeney. So you know these guys are on the right track. These people.
Who is Tim Sweeney? Timothy Dean Sweeney, born 1970, is an American video game programmer and billionaire businessman, best known as the founder and CEO of Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite and the developer of the Unreal Engine. Prominent critic of App Store fees and major land conservationist in North Carolina. View on the future of gaming.
This dude is legitimately one of the worst CEOs in the history of tech, and he only exists at the top because of Fortnite and the industry's obsession with Unreal Engine. Anyways, Tim Sweeney quote tweets Ryan Fleury and says Steam's rules do explicitly prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods, forcing everyone to pay 30% to Valve. Quick question, where the fuck are you getting that, Tim? In case you didn't know, that's not true. Like, that's straight up not true. Steam's rules do not prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods. Steam's rules do not force everyone to pay 30% to Valve. There are games that are available on other storefronts for less money than Steam. If you don't want to buy a game off Steam, you can buy a key. And how ironic this is coming from the man who runs the Epic Games Store, a store that is regularly criticized for being blatantly overpriced, despite EGS's whole thing being the fact that they give developers a larger cut of the revenue from their...
Okay, listening to this guy hurts my ears. Okay, let's keep getting over here. Now I know who he is.
They represent no one. Their entire position is based on the idea that Steam is just too successful. They're too good. They're too good at what they do. They have
It's just the fact that no one else can compete. And he runs the Epic Game Store, so of course he's trying to take them down. That's stupid.
Too many customers. They make too much money. They don't spend enough of that money wasting it on a bunch of people that they don't need. The company is far too efficient. Essentially, this company is suffering from success. That is what this lawsuit is for. And what they want to do is they want to punish Steam, make them change their ways, and then force us onto platforms and onto storefronts that don't deserve our money. Nobody is talking about this from the customer's perspective. Who would have guessed? Because it seems like nobody ever wants to ever include us in this kind of conversation. None of these guys are asking why people even use Steam. Nobody's talking
It's just convenient and great pricing.
about how Steam protects their customers. No, they just see this as an opportunity to take down or to attack one of the very few allies that we still have left in this industry.
And like every week I see a Bellular video talking about how Steam decided not to engage in some stupid fight and they become more well respected in the video game industry and to players because of that. So I don't know, man. This seems legitimately weird. One sec. My cord was all caught up. Yeah, so far I'm confused. I don't know how we get 20 minutes of information out of this. I feel like this should be cut and dry, but let's see what's going on under the hood.
So today I want to talk about why Steam is getting sued, the repercussions of this, and also for all the talk of competition, we're the ones that are getting screwed. You know what? Before I see it in the comment section, I will proudly declare myself a shill for Steam. I love the platform. I love what it's done for games. And yeah, these guys are the progenitor of loot boxes, and they've absolutely had their hands in some shady business when it comes to Counter-Strike gambling, but you take the good with the bad, and in Steam's case, there's a hell of a lot more good than bad, so much so that I think that you would be hard-pressed to find any players who genuinely have a problem with the platform itself, which is why I have been completely caught off guard when I saw that there was news that Steam is being hit with a class action lawsuit on behalf of 14 million UK gamers, claiming that Valve is abusing their market dominance to make players pay too much for games. That claim alone does not make any sense to me because, well, the most common complaint that I see isn't higher prices. It's people drowning in backlogs because of how affordable they make games, especially indie.
Yes. And they highlight indie games all the time, which is something I'm sure he's going to say. Look, I've got... Okay, I'm going to hit this, the uncategorized. Hours played. Percentage of achievement complete. Games I've beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I beat the first Dishonored, but then I uninstalled it, right? Maybe I didn't beat it. Yeah. So far I've counted 8 games that I've completely beat. So a friend of mine is actually going through his whole backlog and beating them all, and I think he beat like 55 backlogged games this year. Pretty impressed with that. I'm at 8 of these games that I can see for sure that I've beat. Now I would say I beat Black Desert because I've played a ridiculous amount of game hours on it, but that's an MMO. Of my, I guess I could have counted them here, it'd be better. Let's see. Yeah, I've beat like 8 to 10 of my 150 games. Like, I just buy them because they show up at like 25% or less and they seem somewhat interesting and they're on my wish list. Like, games, let's go here. Friends, view. Where do you get to see your wish list again? Wish list. Sort by price. 75% off, 80% off, 60% off, under $20, 55% off, 60. Like, this sounds fucking stupid. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Keep it open mind.
Games after a lot of these endless sales. The lawsuit is being pushed under a campaign called Steam You Owe Us. I'm not exactly sure who us is supposed to be in this conversation, but sure. But the case is being led by Vicky Shotbolt, a self-described advocate for children's digital rights. And oh, wouldn't you know it, she was also a key player and on the executive board behind the UK's Online Safety Act, the same legislation that gutted online privacy and freedom of expression. Guys, you know what? Between this and games getting censored thanks to Collective Shout, we are
oh god, Collective Shout. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely at war with Karens right now. Aaron Klotz of Tom's Hardware reported on the details of Valve's lawsuit, writing, Valve's dominance in the PC gaming market has put it squarely in the sights of a UK activist who thinks that Valve is charging Steam gamers and developers too much money for games distributed on the platform. BBC reports that Valve is being hit with a $903 million lawsuit for abusing its market dominance by digital rights campaigner Vicky Shotbolt. If she wins, all 14 million UK Steam gamers could be compensated, and similar lawsuits could likely hit Valve in other countries. The lawsuit, instigated by Shotbolt, claims that Valve is prohibiting games sold on its Steam platform from being sold on other distributors.
So did a bunch of UK gamers just say yes because they're greedily hoping to get some money from Valve and not realizing what they would do to the one good company that actually keeps gamers in mind? Okay.
Distribution platforms that might charge less for the same games. Valve is also being charged with allegedly...
There's a plane or a train going by. Sorry for the noise.
Imposing anti-steering provisions based on its in-game purchasing model, where PC game add-ons or DLC only work through Steam if the base game was purchased through Steam. Finally, Valve is also being charged for charging consumers too much based on excessive...
If you buy it, it only works through Steam, and that's a reason to... Am I retarded? Isn't that how it... PC game add-ons or DLC only work through Steam if the base game was purchased through Steam. Yes. And?
Commission.
Is there... I mean, I guess, maybe you buy the game on Steam and then you see the DLC cheaper on the Epic Game Store and you can buy it there and it could all be together. Maybe that's what they're fighting for. I don't know. Seems shaky.
Charges. Okay, I'm sorry, but what? The idea that Valve is somehow using anti-steering based on its in-game purchasing model because of DLC and microtransactions that don't work on anywhere other than Steam, that has nothing to do with Valve. That's how every single platform works. If I buy DLC on PlayStation, I can't use it on Xbox or Steam. If I buy that DLC on Xbox, I can't use it on Steam or PlayStation. The same thing goes for Epic. That's not a Valve policy. That's just basic platform separation. And now, sure, I would love it for all digital purchases to be multi-platform. I'm pretty sure everybody would, but that's a question of game infrastructure, not platform control. These guys have no idea how video games even work or how any of these storefronts even work. That responsibility sits with the developers, not the storefronts. We already know that's possible because there's plenty of games that use account-based systems where they track your ownership regardless of platform. You just log in and all that content carries over the same way you use like mobile games and you can log.
Yeah. But that's the way it's been going for decades now, right? Like, isn't that not a Steam thing at all? It seems weak.
Into your phone or to your PC or to your video game console or whatever else, but that's something that's not universal. That's not all over the place. I mean, you can go ahead and sue game makers, but you can't sue Valve over that. Then there's the excessive commission charges argument, which honestly reads like it was something that was just ghost written by Tim Sweeney. Valve charges 30%. That is the exact same cut as Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, mobile platforms. Hell, even GOG charges that much. The only real outliers that we have is the Microsoft Store that nobody uses and the Epic Game Store, which also nobody uses.
Yeah.
So why is Steam being singled out here? Why not just sue the entire industry? It's almost like you're just targeting Valve for another reason. Oh, that's because that's exactly what you're doing. This isn't about commission rates. It's about the fact that Valve is too profitable for how little regulators think they should be allowed to make. They even try to point this out, that Valve's efficiency, roughly $50 million per revenue for employee, is evidence of their wrongdoing instead of their competence. That sentiment shows up when they point out the Wolfire Games case, which Steam is also actively in right now, where they say Valve invests a minuscule portion of its revenue into improving and maintaining the Steam store, with very few personnel allocated to the Steam store business development, customer support, and engineering.
Because it just works fine. I've never had a problem on the Steam store. It's communicated properly to me on how returns work. Refunds, they've always come through for me. Support's always been very easy to understand. Anything I've ever done, like a refund, has happened almost immediately. The prices are good. It's really like click one time and you gotta get. What's wrong with it? You don't need a lot of people to run it. It just works fine.
Engineering. Competing stores genuinely offer superior infrastructure and support despite their much smaller market share. Yeah, okay, and those stores suck, so what does that say about them if they can't accomplish a fraction of what Valve does while operating with far more people, more money burned, and vastly worse results? Steam is the most well-supported platform in the entire industry, bar none, and it's not even close. It is loaded with features that nobody else has. Steam Play Together, integrated modding through the workshop, direct player feedback through game-specific forums and reviews, discovery tools, visibility tools, massive seasonal sales, refunds that actually work and happen almost instantly. I could just keep going on and on. If this is what underinvesting looks like, then the rest of the industry should be absolutely embarrassed. Man, you guys are a bunch of losers. So let me get this straight. Sorry, you're too successful. You're too efficient. You provide too good of a service. And because you're so good at what you do, we need to sue you over it. How is that even a coherent complaint? You know what, Gabe? I hope you're watching this video on a boat somewhere right now, which good for you, man. I would stay the hell away from the rest of society too if I was you. But just go ahead and bring up this video in court because it is pretty easy to prove that none of their arguments make any sense. I mean, their key argument is that the commission rates from Steam are inflating game prices inorganically, but that collapses the second that it touches reality. I mean, the first 3 games that pushed prices to $70 back in 2020 was NBA 2K 2021, Demon's Souls Remake, and Black Ops Cold War. None of those games launched on Steam. And here we are now years later, and well, we have an $80 game, but that's Mario Kart World, a Nintendo exclusive. If Steam is supposedly inflating prices, then why does every single Nintendo and PlayStation exclusive cost $70 by default? I mean, these guys then try to back up that argument saying that they don't allow developers to charge lower prices on other platforms, that they're pressuring them to offer the same deals or risk being removed from Steam, except according to Steam's own policy, this only applies to Steam keys, which makes perfect sense. Steam takes 0 commission from Steam keys. They allow you to go sell those keys elsewhere if you want to, but they don't want you undercutting.
I'm sorry, I feel dumb here. What's a Steam key? A unique code made of letters and numbers that you can type in the Steam app to add a game to your digital library. Okay, you buy a game from a place other than the main Steam store. Fanatical, Humble Bundle, etc. Get the Steam key. Oh, a lot of giveaways have Steam keys. Okay.
The price on their own storefront using those keys that cost them money to distribute and support. So why would any company want to use their infrastructure, distribute keys, and then have you undercut them and also screw over their own users? You know what, guys? Maybe I have this entire thing wrong. I mean, we have Tim Sweeney coming out in support of the lawsuit, claiming that Steam's handling of microtransactions is unlawful and claiming that Valve is doing the same thing as Apple and Google, where those were lawsuits where they were both found to be handling things illegally. He compares non-transferable DLC to cars, saying that car makers provide a service too. That doesn't mean they get to dictate what you do with your car after you bought it, which I find especially funny coming from the CEO of Epic, because DLC on the Epic Game Store isn't transferable to any other platforms either. That analogy gets even richer when we start to remember that Epic also owns Unreal Engine 5, where simply just using the engine means you have to pay them 5% in royalty fees on all revenue, including microtransactions, unless your game sells it on the Epic Store, which then it finally magically disappears. Sweeney leans harder into that Apple and Google comparison, claiming that Steam's rules explicitly steer
Unless you sell it on the Epic Store. He's trying so hard.
players and force everyone to pay Valve that 30%, a comparison that immediately falls apart under any scrutiny because Apple and Google own their own operating systems, control the hardware, and were found to actively block alternative stores, which Valve doesn't own Windows, Valve doesn't own Linux, though honestly, I do actually kind of wish they owned Microsoft. That would actually make for a far better world, but that's the tell here. This isn't about prices. This isn't about players. This isn't even about the competition. This is about people who couldn't win. So instead, they're just trying to change the rules after they lost. I am so sick and tired of people who have no interest in the hobby invading the space and trying to ruin it. First, we had Collective Shout coming in and censoring games, getting them removed from Steam. Then we have the UK coming in with their Online Safety Act, basically destroying people's privacy. And now we have people trying to come in to kill competition. I'm all for litigation and controls around predatory practices in video games. Things like gambling, things like digital.
Yeah. That makes more sense. Get all the loot boxes and the silly real money transactions and the 900 different kinds of currencies in one particular game that all lead to swiping your credit card so fast you don't even realize that thousands of dollars have gone by. Hello, Korean MMOs. Yeah, I'm all for that too. I don't see. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a shill for for legendary drops, but I very rarely disagree with them.
Currency. Stop killing games. All the stuff that's going on with Roblox as an example.
Ooh.
But you can't convince me that.
Yeah, look into that. I have a family member with kids that love playing Roblox, and they do not realize what's under the hood. There's a comedian that was on, I think, Andrew Schultz's podcast, and he was talking about his kids. There's a blonde guy, I forget his name now, Italian dude. He was talking about his kids and how his kids are allowed to play Roblox, but he's like, you're not allowed to play with other people. You can't. And like, why? And Daddy says, why, to the kids? And the kids say, because everybody on Roblox is a pedo. And like, that's what he teaches his kids so that they can play that game. But look, it's awful. It's awful. Online communities, buddy.
This isn't just a one-sided attack going after Steam because they are the best available platform on the market, and they're run so efficiently that it barely costs them anything to be able to run it. This is all under the guise of being anti-competitive. You know what's anti-competitive? Trying to make the fastest runner sit in a wheelchair because you want to turn the rest of the industry into the Special Olympics.
Yeah. That's unreal.
The other platforms just simply aren't good enough. Steam is just in a class of its own. We are the kingmaker. We are the one that chose them. Did these guys ever think to take the time to just ask people whether or not they even wanted to try to use other platforms or try to use other storefronts?
Ubisoft store.
You represent 14 million gamers. Sure, I totally believe you. They act as though Steam's revenue just goes into the ether. Like it just disappears. It just goes to Gabe's boat or something like that. That's definitely not the case. I mean, they have 22 themed game fests for nearly every single genre that's going to be showcasing indie games all across the board, and it's not going to cost any of these developers a red cent long as they're actually on the platform. Not to mention the absurd amount of tools and policies and protections that they have in place for their developers as well as their players. It's just all these guys are just paying attention to the flow of the money, but they're not asking why that money is flowing. And I think that's the key to this entire conversation because they don't actually care about any of this stuff.
No.
All they care about is the money. Notice how every single time somebody comes in and says that they're doing something for us, things always get worse. We get less choice, we get less freedom, and we get worse service nearly every single time. And that's exactly how this is going to go because the one key thing that they're going to try to use as proof, the David to their Goliath in this situation, is that they caught Steam trying to protect their players.
Really?
The horror.
How?
If any of these people bothered to ask users why they use Steam, they would immediately realize that the answer has nothing to do with what they're trying to burn it down over. I use Steam because it's simply the best service in the industry. It feels like it was built by gamers for gamers, and you feel that in every single part of the experience. It's wildly convenient. All my games are in one place. Modding is just checking a box, and at any moment, I can see how players actually feel about a game right now, not how it reviewed 6 months ago. Imagine being disconnected from the gaming world. You see a static score, 4.5 stars or 8 out of 10 with no context, no timeline, no warning. You buy the game only to find out that a recent update...
My kid's hopping in the bath, so you may hear some noises in the background. My apologies. Yeah, that's another thing I actually take for granted with Steam is the fact that almost all the reviews are updated. Like there are many games out there where it says like recently positive, and then it also shows the old reviews where it was like it used to be negative, and you can tell that something has changed. Like oh my gosh, what's that huge open world universal space travel game that came out like just terrible, and then they had to revamp it? Or like Cyberpunk 2077, that game came out and it was panned for good reason, and now it's an amazing game. So, and that's very clearly communicated to gamers on the Steam app.
Completely broke it. We've seen this happen repeatedly. Games that were critically adored at launch become borderline unplayable months later, and that protects us in a way. lets us be able to know more about these games. It protects us from wasting our money, and I guess these people just don't like that. Now, one part of the conversation that we haven't touched on yet is the claim that Steam is forcing developers to avoid offering lower prices on other platforms, not just with Steam keys, but more broadly. This argument largely traces back to a lot.
10 seconds checking on the family really quick. We'll be right back. Actually, you know what? I can't. We're recording live. Let's keep going. They're fine.
Lawsuit Valve is still currently dealing with right now, the Wolfire Games case that started back in 2021. In that suit, Wolfire points to communications with Valve employees.
What time travel game is he playing, by the way? This looks really neat.
He's suggesting that if developers offered lower prices somewhere else, Steam could take action, including reduced promotion or even removing the game entirely from the storefront. From a legal standpoint, that's getting framed as anti-competitive behavior and in violation of anti-steering rules. Wolfire backs this up with internal emails and direct conversations with Valve, but I want you guys to pay very close attention to the language being used. The Wolfire suit lists emails and internal conversations that read as follows. We'll never show up and ask you to undercut your customers on other stores, and we expect you'll treat our customers with the same respect. This is a platform goal that goes beyond Steam keys. And use the threat of not promoting them or stop selling it altogether if they raise their price elsewhere or lower the price on Steam, right? Our practice is to have a conversation with the developer to understand why the price is lower elsewhere and see if we can figure out a way to get Steam's price to a similar price that it is on other platforms. We wouldn't be okay with selling games on Steam if they were available at better prices on other stores, even if they didn't use Steam keys. If you want to sell a non-Steam version of your game at $10 at retail and $20 on Steam, we would ask that you lower the price or stop selling the game on Steam if we couldn't treat our customers fairly. All right, now, sure, you can make the argument that this is anti-competitive. That's the legal framing. But from my perspective, and probably yours, this is inherently pro-consumer and honestly, unfathomably based.
Yeah.
Steam doesn't want to compete on price because, as they said in their emails, it doesn't treat the customer fairly. And they're right. Price competition is the laziest form of competition because it doesn't require you to be better. You just get to jerk the customer around. If the platform is worse, well, you just get to cut prices and it avoids having to actually fix anything. You don't have to improve your features, your infrastructure, or your trust. You get to subsidize inconvenience and call it competition. At that point, users are not choosing a platform because it's good. They're choosing it because it's cheaper, and that's a far lower bar to clear. Beyond that, the moment the price becomes the primary lever, we are the ones that are being inconvenienced. We are the ones that have to pay for it. Players get pushed around. We have to juggle storefronts, fragment our libraries, and we lose out on features just to avoid feeling overcharged. How exactly is that fair to us? I think what these companies are afraid of is real competition, competing on service, because if you win that way, well, now you're forced to keep earning your users, and we're the ones that stay in control, and that is definitely something that these guys do not want to have to deal with. It's way easier for them to just cut prices rather than to have to build something better, and that's why...
So basically, the companies that can't keep their store in as good a shape as Steam is looking for the only way that they can criticize, and that's by saying, well, we want to be able to undercut. It's a good way of putting it.
These guys keep trying to change the rules. What I find so absurd about all of this is that Valve doesn't even do any of this in practice, and even when their competitors try to undercut them on price, it doesn't even work, because price cutting doesn't keep customers when the service itself is worse. Steam is just the better platform. That's why people keep choosing it. Tim Sweeney can complain about it all he wants. He can call Steam unlawful, but his own storefront proves the opposite of what he's arguing. There are tons of games that Epic gives away for free that are not on Steam for free, and the players still choose to buy them on Steam anyway. This came up just recently when the head of New Blood pointed out that their new game Blood West sold over 200% more copies on Steam, even while it was being given away for free on the Epic Game Store. Sweeney tried to cope in a response saying gamers and developers win by having more options and better deals, but the growth charts do not back that up. Epic's own numbers show that while its users have tripled over the last 7 years, third-party revenue, games people are actually buying, has only grown by 1.6%. Even free is not enough to overcome a worse service.
Ew.
People will always choose the better platform when they're allowed to. And that's exactly what lawsuits like this threaten. The entire case that they built around it is this idea that Steam is somehow responsible for higher prices, but what do they actually expect to happen? That the prices are magically going to drop? We already have standardized pricing across the industry. Do they think that Ubisoft, Microsoft, EA, or anybody else is suddenly going to start charging less for their games while they're also openly pushing for $100 games? Of course not. They're just going to pocket the difference and we're going to get nothing. Now, you could argue that this helps smaller developers, and sure, I would go ahead and agree with you on that. That's less money to a middleman and more money to the creator and more games for us, but that's the optimistic version that almost never actually plays out in reality. Prices are going to stay the same or keep rising, and the only real outcome is an industry punishing one of the few platforms that goes out of its way to work for us. And that's exactly...
And yeah, it's probably going to go there, but like, what's the negative outcome of here if Steam loses all this money? Like, I don't know, maybe they can weather it, but
what Steam does. Yes, they've been litigated into changing some of their behavior over the years, but compared to the rest of the industry, they have consistently taken the high road almost every single time. Steam is the only major platform with a no questions asked refund policy. They force developers to honor their deadlines on season passes and DLC so their customers don't get rug pulled. They offer family sharing so you're not rebuying the same game 5 times for a single household. They banned in-game ads while everybody else was rushing to go and patent different ways.
Thank you. I remember that one. Please keep in-game ads off your platform.
Ways to inject them into video games, and they banned crypto and blockchain games outright because they knew it would put their customers at risk. None of this is accidental. None of it's universal. Epic Store doesn't protect any of their users from this. They openly criticize Valve for doing so. Epic went all in on crypto. They have no problem with ads. Their refund policy can take days, and that's assuming that it ever actually gets approved at all. And more recently, Tim Sweeney has argued that players don't even need to know whether or not a game used generative AI, something that Steam explicitly discloses to their users by default. From where I'm standing, Steam builds rules to protect their players, and everybody else is just complaining that those rules are getting in the way of making money. That's why I believe that this entire thing, whether it's the litigators, Tim Sweeney, the other competitors, all they're trying to do is just use outside forces, use outside litigation.
Yeah, it seems like, oh my gosh, it's so calm. It's so frustrating to see. Yeah, it's like an equity inclusion attack on Steam from other companies because they're not making as much money. Why? Although they're creating an absolutely inferior, shittier product, and they have the customer in mind a lot less often when it comes to things like microtransactions, in-game gambling, loot boxes, crypto. Yep.
To try to regulate their competitor rather than actually trying to compete with them. Legal action and regulation have become the only hope that these guys have left, simply because they just don't take the time to reflect. They don't take the time to think about why people don't want to use them. Why are they losing? I think these guys default to the idea that Steam must be doing something underhanded because it's the only thing that they know. I think that these companies and outside investors are doing whatever they can to try to pressure Steam and put them into a weakened state. Not only because it gives them an opportunity to hopefully steal some of their customers, but also I think it's because they're hoping that it might make Valve loosen their grip on how they protect their players. And also just the quality of service that the platform has by itself. If they make less money, then that means that there's less money that goes into the platform. And then also maybe they might, let ads through. They might let crypto through or something else. The reason they want that,
I really hope not.
That's the route that they're trying to go, is because their games are also on Steam. They can't be doing shady stuff on their platform, but just not do it on Steam. They need everybody else to jump at the same time. And I think that's what these guys are trying to go for.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, man. If Steam loses this, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt really bad. And it's not just the initial $900 million that they have to pay out. It's going to be the subsequent changes that they're actually going to have to make to Steam to their own commissions, which is going to have long-lasting effects on how much money the company can make. Also, at the same time, it goes into the position of them getting basically sued pretty much across the world, because when you see a class action lawsuit out in one area, you're going to see it in other countries. So these guys are already under a lot of legal pressure from a lot of different places right now.
Sound like they can
and this
win.
is just going to add on top of
Am
it.
I wrong?
So who knows how much something like this could cost them. And we're not going to see anything from it. We're not going to get any benefit from it.
No.
What do you like? No, no universe is that ever going to happen. The only thing that's going to end up happening, it's just going to be the exact same thing that we saw with digital games, where, oh, we're not making this anymore, so you're going to get savings because of that. That never happened. Same thing goes for AI. Oh, it's going to cut costs. None of those savings are ever going to be handed down to the customer. Those guys are just going to pocket all of that stuff. It's always going to be the same. Either prices are going to go up or they're going to stay the same. Believing otherwise, simply naive. Also, the other thing that I'm going to say, and I need to take more time to think about this, but there's also something really gross about having a government wanting to come in and telling Valve how much money they can make, how much commission they're allowed to charge for, especially when you're not talking about any of the other companies in the industry. Seeing as that 30% is not something that is just foreign and it's only Valve that's doing it.
Is that what they're
No,
pushing for government regulation over their ability, I guess, with the lawsuit, over their ability to make commissions, but no one else will have that? Strictly because they're the headliner, the leader?
Single company that
No. That doesn't seem right.
that's doing it. So if you're just focused on Valve and saying that these guys are too profitable, they're just too damn good at what they do, that you need to nerf them specifically, I don't see, one, how that's competitively fair, and two, how you have the right to do that. I don't like that. I don't know. But tell me what you guys think. Are you one of the 14 million gamers that these guys are representing? 14 million gamers. Sound off. Let me hear you in the comment section. Tell me about how much you hate Steam, apparently. I don't know. Hopefully, this doesn't actually go through and these guys just get annihilated in court. That's at least what I'm hoping for. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, share the video, comment, like it. I already said like it. Comment again. Comment like 3 or 4 times, maybe even more. I'm not really too sure. Follow me in Twitter and Twitch. I'm getting tired right now. Sorry. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe.
Family. All right, let's go back to OBS and go full screen here. Ah, my God. Oh, my camera's cutting off the top of my bald head. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I mean, going in, I thought Steam was the good guys, and they still sound like they're good guys. I sincerely hope there's 0 chance for them to lose. That sounds ridiculous, but I don't know. This is a world where everything's going weird lately. Like, I don't want to get into it, but my cynicism is just growing, and I'm only a year into being a dad, so I'm not supposed to be this cynical. You're also not supposed to be a dad at my age. You're supposed to start a lot earlier. Start earlier. Have your babies earlier. That's my advice to you guys. Have your babies earlier. Buy the video games that you like. Stay on Steam. Fuck the Epic Store. And I think the biggest offender was the Ubisoft store. Like when I wanted to get or the AE store, my God, when I wanted to get like the Dragon Age games again for the second time, because I only had them on disc, and I realized that even through Steam I had to buy them through another store and sign in. Like, yeah, I'll be interested to see how this one pans out. I really hope that they get annihilated in court, and for the most part, keep going, Gabe. Keep going, Steam. You guys are awesome. I really hope you don't suffer for this.